right. Well, fantastic to see you both, and good morning. And so, this is hard to believe it's 2021 already. I always say to my wife that it feels like cheap science fiction. It's like not even classy science fiction, which would be like 2001. And so, the fact that it's 2021 is just
All I know is that I'm
unbelievable.
sleeping a whole lot better.
Oh yes, yeah. It's new government, new year. Um, I wanted to talk this morning about giving, about the practice of giving, and how that ties into our a lot of our normal attitudes and our normal fears as well, and the practice, the discipline of giving, so to speak. So there's there are different disciplines. Like there's meditation, but then there's the discipline of meditation. That's like the mindset that's determined, I'm going to meditate. And then there's giving, the act of giving, but then there's the discipline of giving, like taking giving as a discipline. Similarly with patience and so forth, there's a discipline of patience where I make a decision, I'm going to try to practice patience in certain situations. So um, with all of these things, what we're trying to build is a strength, an inner strength of mind. And you could say our discipline is our inner strength of mind. I gave the analogy last week or so that meditation, for example, actually going through a meditation class like this, you're pretty well guaranteed to come out a bit more peaceful. That the hard part is getting yourself to the meditation class. That's the bit that takes a bit of discipline, and because there's always a lot of competing ideas. So there's a discipline of coming here to this class. There's a discipline of sitting down to meditate on our own. But there's a lot of these disciplines, but they're the things that really involve most of the mental strength and the power, like a decision about how we're going to conduct ourselves. And so, again, I'll focus today on giving as a practice. But what we can do is settle in with some meditation just to reset and find a state of peace. As usual, just starting with a deep breath in and out, just to reset ourselves. And another deep breath in and out, just inviting ourselves to relax. And another breath, asking ourselves, what is important now? And the point of breathing in this way is that it's something that's with us all the time, where we can disengage our conscious mind a little bit and just become aware of the movement of our breath. And so a lot of the tension that we feel is wrapped up with our conscious mind, our intentions, our plans, and so forth. So as we're relaxing our body, we also can relax our mind. We have no obligations for the next 45 minutes. Nothing you have to do aside from become peaceful, attentive. And our breath is moving, whether we're conscious of it or not. So just picking up that signal, just becoming aware of that signal, that movement of the breath. If we feel any discomfort or anxiousness, we just relax and have a more casual approach. We just don't try to control our breathing, just feel that movement, expanding and contracting. The feeling will change continually of our breathing. That is the point. We become aware of this constant change. There are countless thoughts, ideas, memories that may be arising, but our breath is just continuing as an underlying pattern throughout all of this. And we can bring to mind all of the people that we know and even those we don't know who have contributed to us being here today, helped us to grow, survive, thrive. We can bring them to mind with a sense of gratitude, with a feeling of appreciation for all of the ways in which we are helped to get where we are today. We allow ourselves to feel a sense of gratitude towards our parents, friends, teachers, partners, co-workers, also the animals and other beings who have helped us directly or indirectly through our life. We feel a sense of gratitude. And we can develop the intention to use this time here, this brief time, to strengthen our mind, to build inner habits such as the discipline of giving, so that we can more readily repay the kindness of others. And then with this motivation, we can open our eyes and arise from our meditation. So and there's a lot of different meditations you can do. There's a lot of different ways you can approach meditation, but I'm kind of settling into this pattern, at least for the time being, of focusing on breathing meditation and then this meditation on gratitude, just because they're such fundamental and such powerful practices for us to carry with us and to build familiarity with. One of the reasons why breathing meditation is so helpful is it's always something you can come back to if you start freaking out. So freaking out is just normal, part of the way we react. There's many levels of freaking out, full-blown panic attacks and mild tension, full spectrum. But our breathing, learning how to come back to, learning how to relax is exceptionally useful for us, because it allows us to move further in our life and move through situations that otherwise would be unbearable. There's a lot of things that can trigger a fear response or a reaction of stress and so forth. And the thing about our breathing is it's so boring. It's so always with us. It's like it's never a crisis, right? Our breathing is always just this natural flow of stuff, like sitting at the ocean and watching the tides come in and out. It's like you have no obligation. If you go to the beach, you're looking at the ocean, you're watching the ocean, the waves come in and out. Why do people find that so relaxing? You have no obligation. It's very, very powerful force. It's very beautiful. It's interesting. There's nothing you can do to make it worse or better. It's just you sit there and you can just watch the ocean waves come in and out, and And sometimes just that watching and relaxing that sense that we're supposed to do something is incredibly therapeutic. And sometimes the main thing we can do is just to hear people and to listen, especially if people are coming to us and they have, health crisis or, personal crisis or something. And there's often nothing immediate that we can do to help aside from just being with them and just listening. And so then the crisis is still there, but they're not in it alone. And even though that's a tiny, tiny, tiny thing, we haven't solved the crisis. We have brought value. We've brought benefit just by listening, just by hearing, just by responding and registering the fear that our friends are in, or the pain or the challenge. That alone is some offering. It's something. So that brings me to giving, and giving piggybacks nicely on the meditation on gratitude. So this fundamental meditation on gratitude, feeling that we have received, right? There is there's a concept, is a Buddhist concept really, but it's called merit. Merit just means good fortune. How much merit or good fortune do you have? Now, if I were to ask you to tell me how much good fortune do you have, like, I don't know, hard to quantify. Smaller than a bread box, bigger than a bread box, as the saying goes. You can quantify, money, you could quantify, number of good things and so forth that have happened to you, but you can't really quantify it. Now, if I ask you how much good fortune do you have, and then we do a meditation on gratitude, and we go deep, right? We just think about our parents, we think about our teachers, we think about different times when people have given us advice and friendship and our colleagues, and you spend some time just immersed in that, and then I ask you, how much good fortune do you have? Well, probably should have increased, hopefully substantially increased. Whatever is that measure, right? So that sense of good fortune is very, very subjective, right? And it is incredibly subjective, but nevertheless, it's incredibly important to us. If I said, would you like to have incredible good fortune at every step of the way through your life? Yes. Is there anything you'd like more than that? No. Like this, the old thing where you have you find a lamp, Aladdin's lamp, and there's a genie in there, and you get a wish. And what do you wish for? Of course, the smartest thing to wish for is always more wishes. Smart people wish for more wishes, right? Like more ability to fulfill your wishes. But it's the same. It's like, if you have good fortune, there's nothing more valuable than that. What if the moment you leave this class and you encounter somebody, you have some good fortune there, and you leave your house or you go into a work project and you have good fortune. Good fortune is actually the commodity that we're all looking for. And good fortune is not really something you can nail down, because it deals with chance and uncertainty and risk and so forth. But the thing is, you're already dealing with chance and uncertainty and risk. It may sound profoundly unscientific to talk about luck, but basically, even the most scientific people are operating, with a focus on luck. They're still trying to get lucky. They're just trying to get lucky systematically, right? We, um, our luck, our good fortune, the reason it's tricky to nail down and quantify is because it's so subjective, but it very much depends on how we respond to situations and how much of a sense of gratitude we have. And we can accumulate merit, we can accumulate this good luck or this sense of good fortune by doing things like meditating on gratitude, but we can also do it by practicing giving. And so giving is an interesting thing to think about. To give, you must have something to give. But do you have enough to give is a very subjective thing, right? Depends very much on you as a person, right? And there's the opposite of giving is what you could call miserliness, right? And I'm not talking about this as a financial thing. I'm talking about this as a mindset. The mindset of miserliness. Miserliness means you have nothing to give. Um, and even as I'm saying this, there's like some feeling of discomfort, right? Like, and people can feel a little bit uncomfortable, like, is somebody trying to take something from me, right? Because there's some clinging to what we have because we, it's just a very instinctive, very natural, right? To try to possess things. It's a very, very natural, instinctive thing. We want to possess food, money, possessions, wealth, status, all these kinds of things. We try to accumulate these things. So giving moves in the opposite direction of accumulating. Giving is literally divesting or sharing or giving. Well, giving, obviously. It's the opposite of clinging and collecting. But when you give, you actually have to think, what do I have to give? And there was there was a story that was we like to tell about my main meditation teacher. There was once he practiced this discipline of giving. There was once a group of people who came to visit the meditation center where he was living, and he bumped into them in the dining hall just spontaneously, and he saw these people, and he's like, what can I give? And so he's just looking around, and he saw like a bunch of pencils, like a roll of pencils. He's a famous, great meditation teacher. And so he goes and he gets the group of pencils, and he's like, okay, here's a pencil for everybody. It's like, it's a little bit unusual, but he was trying to find something to give. It's like he has a wish to give all the time, like that practice. Now we have far more to give than we realize, right? As I said earlier, if you have someone who's suffering from, a medical problem or heavy emotional situation, we may sometimes feel a little bit intimidated to reach out to them and spend time with them or offer our service because we think we have nothing we can do to help. But even just being a friend or just being present to those people, that's an act of giving. Spending time with people can be an act of giving. Being calm when other people are freaking out is an act of giving. It's called giving fearlessness. So it's that's something that we can contribute. Giving our ideas if they're requested, giving our opinions only if they're requested, normally, or only if people are open to it. Is a kind of giving. And we have skills as well. We have skills. So what I think is powerful is to reframe what we do in just as activities of daily life, to reframe what we're doing as giving, because you're already giving an enormous amount, right? You give continuously to your children, your friends, your at work, using your skills. Reframe that as an act of giving and realize how much energy you're already putting into giving, like how generous you are already. And this is what's called rejoicing, just like looking at what you've already done and just appreciating that, you know what, when people ask me for help, I don't like when a coworker asks me for help, I don't charge them for that help. What does that mean? Like I've had I've never had a coworker charge me for when I've requested assistance, and I've never charged a coworker when I've requested assistance. It's interesting. Like our companies out from the outside, our companies look like very capitalist things. They're trying to make money and stuff. But on the inside, our companies and organizations, they're little communist utopias, right? Where there's like all the resources are shared, the information shared, everybody's looking out for collective welfare and so forth. And it's a lot nicer. Life is a lot nicer and more comfortable and simpler if you have an environment of trust where you can exchange ideas and information and help and so forth within some circle of trust. And so that's basically what a company is. It's a circle of trust within which we can share And so back to the idea that I've never charged my coworkers for their assistance. They've never charged me. What's that all about? It means I'm a volunteer. Like I'm volunteering my services, right? Someone somewhere down the line is paying me at some point, and I'm glad about that. But on a moment-to-moment basis, we're actually practicing giving all the time. Now, one thing about giving sometimes is with the opposite of giving, as I said, is miserliness. And sometimes when we try to give, we can give and our personality gets caught up in it a little bit. I was having a conversation yesterday with Sanjay, one of the leaders at my company, and he was saying that he said, I think it's really important when we put ideas out there that we not have a who attached to it, that we not think about the person. We just think about it as an idea, and then we debate the idea and we look at the idea, but we don't get our personality tied up in it. And it's easier said than done, and we have to detach a little bit from that idea, but it's very powerful because then you can have a discussion about real ideas and then nobody's feelings are getting hurt. And I thought it was, very rich and profound and lovely wisdom, and apropos to the kinds of things we talk about here. But the idea of giving and then you have expectations about how people use that afterwards. You give something and you're like, okay, so did you use it the way I wanted you to use it? Like that's giving with strings attached, giving with expectations. We can have that's one way we can have our personality and control caught up in the act of giving. So we're not really just giving purely, there's some control caught up, but we can also have a lot of fear with giving, especially if we're giving ideas, like giving our suggestions, because there's a fear of judgment, and it's maybe one of the deepest fears we have is a fear of being judged. If you share an idea and I say that's a terrible idea, stupid idea, something like that, it hurts. Like even for me to say the words, like it's a little bit triggering. A stupid idea, but sometimes we'll say that about other people's ideas in our head, or we'll worry that other people have that judgment of our ideas. But what's happening is that we're adding a whole emotional and control layer on top of just sharing the ideas, and it creates an atmosphere of fear, right? Like we can create an intimidating atmosphere towards others, or we can feel intimidated, and it's very difficult for people to build that courage, build up the courage, a sense of psychological safety, if you want, to share. To do things like speaking in public, to do things like sharing their ideas, or to do things like, offering something creative, or to acknowledge, to admit a fault. And so our ability to share even information, even ideas, even feedback, often there can be a lot of fear caught up in that inhibits our ability to give. And so sometimes we give with a wish to control, like I'll give this idea and you better listen to this idea. Otherwise, I'm going to be totally upset and my personality is caught up in that. Or I think you're a terrible, foolish person if you don't listen to my idea. That's not just giving, right? That's not just offering somebody else an idea. That's trying to control them, right? And so it's a surprisingly tricky thing to just share ideas, to share information. One of the things about ideas, though, is that as soon as you pass them on, you lose control of it, right? And that's a tricky thing. They're not a scarce commodity like material things. If you give it away, you lose it, right? But with ideas in particular, when you give them away, like they multiply, right? They're not bound by time and space. And so sharing ideas is one way of practicing generosity, and it's something um, where we may tend to have some miserliness, like wanting to protect our great ideas and not want to share our best ideas. But I know in the startup community, the community of people is like trying to create startup businesses. Sometimes people are like, "Well, I don't want to tell anybody my brilliant idea for a new company." But the more senior, wise advisors are like, "Listen, your idea is not priceless. What's difficult is the ability to execute on it. So don't hesitate to share the idea. What's really challenging is for other people to be able to follow that idea and execute on it. And the more they do that, the more you'll learn, yeah, from them. And stop trying to not think about these ideas and so forth as a scarce commodity, but instead practicing generosity of helping to benefit others by sharing. So the discipline of generosity is to notice when our mind may be subject to some miserliness and to intentionally give. And to give, even if there's a bit of fear in our mind, it helps to relax that clinging and grasping, right? And then we can build confidence and build fearlessness in our activities of giving. And every time we give, what that does, it builds up this sense of good fortune, that we have something to give, that we have something to share. And the more you build that sense of good fortune, the more you are a lucky person, the more you actually have cultivated this mindset that I am fortunate. I've got things to give. I've got time. I've got ideas. I've got ways to physically help others. I can give fearlessness by not panicking. I am actually very, very fortunate. And so it helps us, the discipline of giving helps us to feel uplifted, to feel flexible, to feel adaptable, that no matter what happens, we're still relying on that luck. We've built that inner merit or good fortune or luck through our activities. And that will always serve us well. Okay, so those are some thoughts on giving as a discipline. And I thought we could take this into meditation a bit and meditate with that mind of gratitude, bring to mind the kindness of others and just think, I've received so much. How wonderful if I can give back more, give back in my life. Okay. So again, for this meditation, then we can close our eyes if that helps you to focus, and take a deep breath in and out and just allow yourself to reset. And notice if there's any tension that has accumulated since our last meditation. And just ask, what is that about? And taking another breath, we just invite ourselves to relax. We can bring to mind those that we recalled at the beginning of our session. And we can think we are all caught up in a web of kindness from which it is impossible to extricate ourselves. So we think about that web of kindness. How much have we received? How much do we receive on an ongoing basis? Even that our city, state, country, company, even that they function, that they run effectively. That's a form of kindness. And we can think how wonderful if I could give back, increase my capacity to give back. How am I already giving back? We can start there. How are we already giving back? And we can just appreciate all of the small acts of giving we do throughout our life. Just reframing our daily activities as acts of giving to the people around us. And then we can develop a determination to strengthen our own acts of giving, strengthen our own appreciation of the kindness of others, build the determination to give, the discipline of giving. And we can think through this practice of building the discipline of giving. we are strengthening these inner pathways, mental pathways. And what kinds of good results could arise from this in the future? Just contemplate what are the good results you would like to see arising from your own discipline of giving. We can open our eyes and arise from our meditation.